Okay, greetings family, Sister Shanice here. The screen I'm seeing, I can see, Brother Bevan, I can see you in the screen as well. Is that what everybody else is looking at? Are you hovering over the presentation?
I shouldn't be.
I can't see Bevis in my screen. I can only see the presentation.
Oh, okay, fantastic. That's okay. All right then, McKenna, thanks for that. Right, well, as I said, my name is Sister Shanice. I am a presenter on Galaxy Afiwi, which is the only de-brainwashing station. And you can find us at www.galaxyafiwi.com. I'm also an author. I also organize trips to Africa. And, you know, I've got a couple of African businesses as well that I'm involved in. And also just in the process of buying land in a couple of African countries. So my focus and my interest in terms of where I'm at the moment in life is all about Africa. And for the last 4 years, I've been organizing trips to Zimbabwe, and most people have never been to Zimbabwe and don't know what it's like. So I've got a picture presentation here that's going to, you know, give you a kind of idea of what Zimbabwe is like and what the trips are like. And we're taking registrations for next year, 2021. So if after watching this presentation, you or anyone you know is interested in joining us to Zimbabwe in 2021, then you're welcome to join us. And we're also doing a trip to Tanzania this year, and there are still some places available for our Tanzania trip for 2020. Okay, in the corner of the presentation, you've got the website address there, and you've also got the email address should you want to contact us. And you're looking at a gorgeous orange sunset, which is a photo that I took myself on the Zambezi River in Zimbabwe. And that is one of the trips that we do along the Zambezi River. All right. We do trips to Tanzania, as I said, as well as Zimbabwe, and there you have the prices for our Tanzania trip. And if you want more information, I can get that to you. You just need to send me your email address or contact me by phone, and then we can communicate, okay? Now, our trips are action-packed. It's not about going to one spot and staying there for the whole time. You know, it's an action-packed trip, and here you've got a picture of the group that we went out with. These are pictures from the 2018 one. I didn't update. And on this trip, I think there was about 27 of us, and we're also had about 7 people join us from the USA as well. Irritated Genie, for those who know him, he organizes the group that comes and joins us from the USA. And on arrival, we are met by some wonderful, wonderful dancers, African dancers. That's organized by the tourism board, because, you know, we don't work on these trips in isolation. We work on them in partnership with the Zimbabwean tourism board. So they get the wonderful dancers to come and meet and greet us. And by the time we come out the airport, we're dancing with them as well. And the next day, well, each day we organize different trips to different venues and different locations. So here we are at Heroes Acre. And at Heroes Acre, we actually experience a real understanding of the Zimbabwean history in terms of the liberation struggle. And, you know, this story is hardly told outside of Zimbabwe, because these trips are not just about us having a wonderful time, which we do, but it's also about us finding out about the history of the country, the culture. We meet the people, we find out about business opportunities, etc. Heroes Acre, if you go to Zimbabwe, absolutely must place to visit. It's a wonderful venue where they celebrate all of their fallen heroes, and there are graves as well where the fallen heroes have actually been buried, and there's a museum there that tells an incredible story about their history. This is the place where Robert Mugabe was supposed to have been buried as well, but you're probably aware through the media that his immediate family decided that they didn't want him to be buried there, so it's not actually there at the moment. And here we are. On my screen, I've got something in the way, so let me try and move that. That's good. Yeah, and so here we are as well, at the foot of the huge monument that was created in reverence and in respect of the fallen heroes. Again, it's an incredible history, and this is the venue as well for Heroes Acre. The bird on the top on the corner, that is the Zimbabwean bird, and it goes back thousands of years. That symbol is thousands of years old, and you can even find it as well on the top of the soapstones on the Great Kingdom of Zimbabwe that was built during the 11th/12th century as well. Huge amount of history. Lots of wildlife as well to be seen in Zimbabwe. So we do the trips to where the wildlife is. And they're actually sitting on quite a small boulder there. But Zimbabwe is full of huge boulders, you know, and these boulders, they take like millions of years to actually form. And the fact that Zimbabwe is full of these huge boulders gives you an indication as to how old this part of the world actually is. And, you know, we've seen lots of very creative architectural designs where buildings have incorporated these boulders. That's a picture of an African bird there. One of our guests has a bird exactly like that at home, so I took that picture to show him. We travel around on a luxury bus. So this was the bus that we used in 2018. We all had a fantastic time together on the bus. We play music, we sing, we have fun, we tell jokes. This is how we travel, this is how we roll. This is one of the boulders as well that we climbed, and so you do get quite fit. And it's interesting because there were some people among us who weren't very fit, but after having done quite a lot of climbing in that climate, their health condition was transformed. There's a lot of theories around why that happens, but you know, it's all very scientific and very interesting if you're into the sciences of that part of the world and the natural energy grid that goes around the world and where it crosses over through Zimbabwe and the energy fields that's in that region. Yeah, that goes back hundreds of thousands of years and talks about how our people used to tap into the natural energy that goes around the world to power, you know, a lot of sophisticated equipment that used to dig these very, very deep shafts, you know, and gold mine shafts, you know, tens of thousands of years ago. But that's our whole very interesting kind of science topic for discussion for those who are interested in that field. Lots of pictures of us underneath some of these boulders doing some climbing. We also go to parts of the country where they've got ancient paintings on the wall as well, paintings that go back, you know, they dated back hundreds of thousands of years. Here you have some of the rock painting, for example, and you have to study it to see all of the images that you get from the rock painting. This is us when we actually, or some of us that reach the very top of one of those boulders as well, as you can see the jubilation. And all over the country as well, there's all these really interesting, I don't capture it as much in 2018 as I did last year, but there's lots of boulders on top of each other, these huge rocks on top of each other. Now, with today's knowledge and today's science, there's a very lack of understanding and awareness of how these huge boulders seem to be sitting on top of one another, and it looks as though someone's lifted them like Lego and just placed them on top of each other. And the theory is that back then we used to levitate. We had the power of levitation. Again, another really interesting mystery that has yet to be looked into. Of course, we do, you know, the 4x4 touristy stuff. We go out and spot the animals. This is one of the elephants. This one is a tame one, though. We go and we visit the tame ones and the wild ones. So this is a photo that I took of one of the tame elephants. This photo looks as though I'm really close up, but I actually put the camera through some wire fencing that was between us and those gorgeous lions there. Yeah, so you get up close and personal. This is a zebra that we spotted in the wild, and you know, lots of wildlife that we got to see as we went round on the 4x4. These are the tame elephants that we were able to feed and get up close to and stroke and talk to. And we've seen them for a few years running now, so we think they know us. This was actually a hotel, the reception area to one of the hotel that's designed off of the images or the artist's impression of the Great Kingdom of Zimbabwe. And this is us at the foot of the Great Kingdom of Zimbabwe. As you can see from the rocks there, there's been a lot of devastation that's taken place, and the hotel that was in the previous one, believe it or not, actually took a lot of the original rocks from the Great Kingdom to build their hotels, such as the extent of it's like having Buckingham Palace as a national treasure and people being allowed to take the bricks from Buckingham Palace to build, you know, their own hotel. That is the kind of sacrilege that goes on in Africa, unfortunately. Bit of a view. This is one of the walls from the Great Kingdom that is still standing. And the big thing is that this wall is built without mortar. So it's bricks on top of bricks and there's no mortar in between. And it's one of the marvels of the world because they don't know how we managed to build buildings, you know, such great buildings that didn't require any mortar. And here you've got a bit of a close-up with our brother Dana from the USA in the front there of the brickwork as well. So if you in this bit on the left hand side rather is the Cornico Tower as part of the Great Kingdom as well. It's thought that that's what they used to keep the grains in. And as you can see, some of the man's in there. We meet traditional dancers along the way. And this is an idea of a traditional village as well. And this would have been within some of the walls. But you can't imagine with your mind eye today what some of these huts used to look like inside. But if you can imagine that in Zimbabwe during that time, they had over 4,000 gold mines. They were looming materials, silks and velvets. You can imagine that there would have been lots of color, there would have been lots of silks, lots of velvets. They hunted and they used animal skins. So the artist's impression that we have today of what some of these huts would have looked like back in the days, in my opinion, doesn't line up with the reading that you can read about, you know, the artifacts that they found and the treasures that they found. You know, nowhere are these artifacts and these treasures represented in the artistic work that's supposed to be a representation of Zimbabwe. So there's a huge amount of work for our people to do from our perspective when we're talking about how we present the history of our countries. Okay, so this is a picture of the wall, again, of the Great Kingdom. Another view of the Great Kingdom of Zimbabwe. But now we're actually in the hotel. So this is a hotel that we stayed at that's trying to kind of replicate what the Great Kingdom may have looked like. Okay, this is the Zambezi River, images of us on the Zambezi River.
Can you hear me?
No, I can't. I just heard you then.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that's me. That's Rico from Newcastle. I've been trying to get on this for a while, just trying to use this technology. And
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
don't know how
welcome.
we're connected now.
Yes.
Sorry, carry on.
You're on. Everybody else has been muted except you, so it's okay. So
Right.
anyway, so going through my picture presentation here, look at the roots of that tree. Absolutely beautiful and amazing. The sunshine was shining the whole time that we were there. They have their summer when we have our winter, so we get great weather on our trips. And we move together as a group. And year on year, we all just have an amazing time. Lots of beautiful scenery. You can see some of the huge boulders in the background there as well. Us climbing through. You see, you could even have a walking stick. We don't let that stop you. And our people are keen to join us on these climbs. So. Some of Zimbabwe's beautiful treasures here. They're the soapstones that I mentioned before. That's an emblem of Zimbabwe. So, any questions? This is Masuya Tunya, the smoke that thunders, Victoria Falls.
Hello, Sister Shanice, you just asked for any questions. I will unmute everybody.
Okie doke.
Does anybody have any questions for Sister Shanice?
Yeah, William Welcher, you were saying you're planning a trip. When next year is the next one? You have a date in mind?
The next one, we're taking bookings now for 2021 for Zimbabwe, and we're taking bookings for 2020 for Tanzania. So at the moment, the way things are, we're kind of watching the season and what's going on with this big TV, yeah? But we're still planning to go ahead with 2020, but for Zimbabwe, we're taking bookings for 2021. For Tanzania, we've still got some places available for Tanzania.
Do you have a tentative month or period in mind as yet?
Yes, we do. The 22nd of October, 2020 is the date for our trip to Tanzania. And we'll be out there for 2 stops. Tanzania, yeah.
Tanzania.
Yeah, and for 2021, we'll be going to Zimbabwe around September.
September.
Yeah, 2021.
Okay. Okay. For the time being, we will end the question and answer there because there will be more questions and answers at the end. Okay. So thank you very much, Sister Shanice. Okay, thank you very much. So we have Asari, which will be speaking today concerning Rwanda. Asari and also Michelle Fanus will be speaking about Rwanda. Asari, would you like to continue?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Fantastic. Really enjoyed that. So, yeah, we're going to talk about Rwanda. We call it, we say, is it an African miracle? We think it is almost a miracle. And we would just want to share, we went just a few months ago, end of last year, and we've been watching Rwanda for a number of years and so excited about it. We think it's a great example to all of our people of how an African country should be run. So one of the things we talk about is we talk to our children, we talk to different people about why we should live in Africa, why we should be in Africa, and it's all about history. But what we say is, people ask us, well, where would you recommend somewhere where there's a great example that we can show people? And we think Rwanda's that place, so that's what we want to share with you now. Want to say anything?
Greetings, everyone. It's Michelle Fanus. Yes, as Asari said, we both recently went to Rwanda, and we think it's an amazing place, and we'll tell you why.
So we'll just dive right in, really. Why talk about Rwanda? As I said, an example of the issues of human development and human dignity. It's got political independence, and they did that through a war. So they actually got physical grip of the country through a war that was liberation struggle. Very good governance, safe, zero corruption, low cost or free education for everybody. So again, they've found very good ways of making sure that everybody's got free healthcare, where the government can't necessarily pay for it all on their own, but they do team up with the private sector. Poverty reduction, there's a huge program to reduce poverty and to increase the amount of jobs. Housing and infrastructure programs going in everywhere. It's a very modern looking city as well. When you go to Kigali, we went outside Kigali as well, but Kigali as a capital city is very, very modern because it was in ruins basically after the genocide. The role of women is a great example. Michelle will share with you a lot more about that in a little bit as well. Really great example of a place to live if you're an African woman. The economy is stable and it's very, very, very fast growth. One of the fastest growing countries in the world right now, and the second fastest growing in Africa. And also the mobility, the opportunities for people, because basically most people are very poor and have been very poor for a long time, but the opportunities to move by having private, whether it's opening your own business or getting a decent job, the opportunities are phenomenal. And also with higher education as well. So that's why we talk about class contradictions in terms of the ability to improve your life. We call it hope. Is there any hope? Just to show you a quick map of where Rwanda is. A lot of people don't know Rwanda that well in terms of where it's geographically, because it's very, very small for an African country. Very, very small indeed. It's only a 12 million population. So you see where it is with Uganda in the north and the Congo on the, so much on the west side. And on the east, got Tanzania, and in the south, Burundi, which is another small country. So it's just to be aware of that. And of course, Kigali, the capital, is right in the middle. We traveled all the way over to the border as well by Lake Kivu. So that was just one of our experiences, about a 3-hour drive from here to here. Most places you can get to within 3 hours drive. But obviously you can fly as well, and they've got drones as well, which we probably won't have time to get into. We have to mention the genocide, but we don't want to go into too much detail on it because there's been a lot said about it. You can Google it and find out about it. But what we do want to mention is that people are concerned about what's the likelihood of future conflict. And now in any society, you can't guarantee there won't be future conflict, but certainly they've done a lot to try and resolve the conflict and the peace between each other. You no longer can be called Tutsis and Hutus. Those words have gone. In terms of there's no documentation with who's this and who's that. It's basically, it's one people, you're Rwandan. In fact, it's illegal to be a politician and even mention it. So if you're a politician, you say, look, if I get into power, I'm going to help the Hutus or I'm going to help the Tutsis, you'll be arrested. So you can't go along those lines anymore. So we're just mentioning these courts where the community-based courts, where they've done a lot of work, people on trial where they confess. But it's predominantly about reconciliation rather than punishment, because basically you're going to have to punish 10% of 20% of the population, and it's just not untenable. So they have to find a way of having peace with themselves and other people forgiving them, because you're talking about neighbors living next to each other who may have killed each other. So that's what we just want to mention about that, but we're not going to spend too much time on that. We just want to move on to what it is in modern Rwanda. This is just an example of a picture near the convention center. They've got some nice, lots of nice infrastructure. The whole of the city is very nicely infrastructure anyway. And the whole city is landscape. Good roads in most of the areas. Obviously, some of the back streets are not so great, but basically the road network is excellent and wide as well. It's not just like small roads, but dual carriages all over, very good infrastructure, and everywhere is landscaped and clean. So how this looks is basically how everywhere in Kigali looks. Everywhere you go, it's clean, no litter, and everywhere is landscaped. It's not that bit of rough here and there. It's really, really lovely. So some of the things that really caught our eye is the most improved nation in human development in the world. I mean, what they've done there is just phenomenal. So it's not just about infrastructure, it's about how they treat the people. So the infrastructure is for a purpose, let's put it that way. It's not just for the sake of it. First for government transparency in Africa. First for women in parliament, 67%, the highest in the world. Plus 50% in the cabinet are women. Second fastest growing economy in Africa, as we've mentioned. This is the average growth since 2007. It was slightly higher last year as well, so the growth is actually increasing. Second easiest place to do business in Africa. Fifth safest country to walk at night worldwide. Absolutely safe. As a brother, obviously, walking the street at night got a different perspective than Michelle, but Michelle can share what it's like.
Absolutely safe, yeah. Really, 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 you don't feel at all threatened. It's really, really, and at night as well.
And there's police all over as well, but they don't walk in groups, so it's not intimidating in the sense that, like, if you see police here, they're in cars or they're in groups. Most of the police there are singular police who stand in certain locations across the city, and they're just guarding over the area. So it's not very intimidating in terms of seeing groups of police kind of walking around. And sort of with guns and frightening you with vehicles and that. You very rarely see police in a car, actually, mostly on foot. Lowest debt ratio in the region. Some other things on here: third in Africa for meeting, incentives, conference, exhibitions. This is Michelle's specialist area as well.
Yeah, so at the moment, the organisations that want to host conferences or events that are annual events that move around the world, if they want to host an event in Africa at the moment, they'll either go to somewhere like Casablanca or Cape Town. So it's South Africa or Morocco are the choices. So Rwanda's strategy is to position itself as number one, so that organisers can think of Kigali to host their conferences, and they're doing all of this sort of development, the infrastructure, making it a safe place, good place to do business in order to position themselves for that. And they're hosting quite a number of high level events and conferences, and they have done in the last few years as well. So they're getting there.
And that whole area is beautiful. When you go inside the convention centre, it's all very modern and Radisson. Is it Radisson Blue, isn't it? Radisson Blue is the hotel arm of it, and then obviously you've got the convention centre next door. Very, very nice. All these places are worth a visit. Growing bilingual and educated workforce. Their official languages are, they've got their own language, which I can never remember how you pronounce it.
Kinyarwanda.
Kinyarwanda.
Yeah.
That's their own native language. They've also recognised Kiswahili. And of course, then they speak English and French. The older population tends to speak French, and the younger population all speak English, because everything is now in English in terms of the international language for business, and what they're taught in schools is English and their own language. So mostly anybody under the age of sort of 25, mostly they will speak very good English, and the older people mostly speak French with not much English. So if you get a cab driver who's like 50, 60, you'll struggle to speak to them in English. They don't really speak English, so the older population is quite different. But for doing business, you're predominantly going to meet people who can all speak English. Yeah. Everywhere you go, the Rwanda Development Board, all the institutions, they'll all be English-speaking people anyway. That just gives an example of the amount of people who are going through university. So the amount of graduates they're producing per year is huge. So you've got a lot of educated workforce, and as I said, who are bilingual. They've got first world networks in terms of everywhere we went, we had 4G. Yeah. Excellent internet everywhere you go. Nearly everybody's got, smartphones and stuff like that as well. They're very, very strong on ICT. They really champion the economy through good infrastructure. And I don't know if you know people in East Africa, they've got high-speed internet, and they're doing a lot of work around that. They've even just got the new science the science university that's pan-African wide, and the science-based campus is in Rwanda. So that shows some of the work they're doing there. That's just a little bit more about the fibre and that. Just talk about a little bit of Pan-African credentials. They never use the word Pan-Africanism that I've seen ever. I've never heard them use the word, but what I see is a lot of action. And the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement was signed in Kigali in Rwanda, and it was signed when the president of Rwanda was the chair of the African Union. So there was a lot of work he did to try and get Africans to agree to integrate our economies, which I think is a huge step towards Pan-Africanism in the real world. That's the agreement. Most countries have now signed it. If you look at the combined GDP of Africa, it's 2.5 trillion, which shows it's close to sort of India. A lot of us don't think of it that way. So Africa is not actually poor, but per capita, yes, but as a country as a whole, as a continent as a whole, we're not. So there's huge potential if that increases in trade, which it will. So this is just some examples, removing the tariffs. Kagame's call for Africa to define its own course, constant reference to Africa. You'll see in his speeches, he constantly talks about the East African community and Africa as a whole. He always references the two. He'll reference Rwanda, and then he will reference Africa. So he constantly tells the population that we need to see ourselves as African, and we should be excellent in everything we do. Just as a quick example is Libya. Loads of people have talked about Libya and how sad it is that they've got the slavery there and the way they've been treating Africans in Libya. But I haven't heard of any other African country doing it. I'm not saying they're not, but they've received, just when we were leaving, they were receiving the first of 66 asylum seekers from Libya, taking them into their country, and it was all positive reports about them coming, not sort of, oh, what are these asylum seekers doing coming here, like we can imagine in the UK. But we know there's some issues and there's some ongoing conflicts with Congo and Uganda. We won't go in that at the moment. That generally there's loads of talks around that. And as I said, it's safe on the border and that, but there are some historical issues. So we're just going to take you through very quickly, mostly pictures, but we'll mention a few things as we're going through it, as we go through some of these pictures. It's just examples of one laptop you'll see here.
So there was a one laptop per child. That was one of the massive stories, and one of the where Rwanda started to become one of the leading lights in Africa, where one of their goals and missions was that there would be one laptop per child. And this is their strategy to develop themselves as a sort of a technology hub, so that all of their citizens are kind of technologically kind of astute. So technology is a massive thing in Rwanda.
You'll see the amount of women also going through university. There's a very strong levels of enrollment, because in a lot of African countries, the people who's going to school is mainly boys and not many girls. So there's a big push to make sure that girls and the children in rural areas are going to school and primary school. It's all very cheap or free, depending on your income. But there is some issues that they've reported of dropout. So they've still got some issues of trying to keep young children in school. So some of the poorer children in rural areas are not finishing school. This was something amazing. We were sitting near the convention center having lunch with a brother who was just telling us a bit about Rwanda, and we were just chatting about different opportunities. And he said, "Did you know there was an African Leadership University here?" We said, "What?" That's something we dreamed of years ago, and we never knew it happened. And he said, "Guess what? It's just upstairs. Do you want to go and have a look?" It was like, what a rhetorical question. So we went and had a look, and it's phenomenal that they've actually got a leadership campus with all these young African people learning how to be future leaders in Africa. And they've got a great example in terms of the kind of governorship of what's going on here. The guy that's behind this is a Ghanaian, and this is the second branch in Rwanda. Absolutely phenomenal, worth looking up. We were blown away by it. And it's run by the students, which is quite interesting as well. This is just some examples. We won't go through all of it, what they've achieved in literacy, and some of the stuff that's going on in their schools. We haven't got time to go through all of it in detail. This is just an example of some of the stuff. So we'll just show those if you want a quick read. We can share these with Bevis afterwards so you can share them out. So healthcare is another area where it's largely free or very low cost to everybody. I think everybody has to make a small contribution based on your income, but we're talking small. It's not like America where it's very expensive. We've got an example of community. They've got like community healthcare all over the country, so in rural areas as well, a bit like how the Cubans did it, where they've got primary health programs for mothers and young children, etc. So that's all over the country. Then they've got the more sophisticated sort of hospitals as well, but they've got them regionally, so everybody doesn't have to come to Kigali. And you see more sophisticated upmarket, you know, sort of modern technology use. But also this is interesting, drone technology. The drone technology here is something they did because to get blood, for example, to some of the rural areas takes 3-hour drive. By that time, the person could die. So they fly the blood, I'm sure other things as well, overland and fly it straight into the hospital in the local regional area. I understand now the Ghanaians told me, I did some training with Ghanaians a few days ago, and they told me that they've taken this to a whole new level, but they went to Rwanda to find out about it. Now they're using drones all over Ghana as well. So it's quite fascinating. Yeah, this is just, as I said, some stats on it. We won't go through all these in detail. This is just an example. Interesting one as well. How many people in Africa go blind for no reason other than just pathetic primary health care, poor sanitation, and so many people go blind in Africa just because the sanitation is poor and there's no health care. And they've got universal eye care in Rwanda. Very few countries, poor countries in the world have it, other than places like Cuba. So that's just an example of what they've done. So they've really mobilized a lot of things. You see 4 national hospitals, and those are district hospitals.
So women in Rwanda was probably the first thing that caught my attention, obviously being a woman. So Rwanda is known for having the most percentage of women in government. They have 67% of women in government. You don't really hear that, you know, not even in the UK do you have that. So women play a very prominent role within Rwanda, both in public life and in private life. And a lot of I'll show you on the next slide, that a lot of the major institutions that have been appointed, the heads of, or chief executives of some of the major institutions are headed by women, and those, of course, have been appointed by Paul Kagame. So Paul Kagame is a missionary in terms of, definitely, he's a visionary, I meant to say, in terms of wanting women to play a prominent role in the country. So Claire, she is the chief executive of the Rwanda Development Board. The Rwanda Development Board is the organisation that has the mandate to develop the country. So that's going out and finding investors, developing the countries, all of the different sectors. And the major sectors that are under development are agriculture, which is a major one. They're the highest producers of tea and coffee. Tourism is another major sector for them in terms of, you know, lots of people want to go and see the gorillas, for example. That's what they're known for. Energy, mining, what else? Knowledge, finance. There's quite a few major sectors that they're sort of trying to develop, and the Rwanda Development Board is the organisation that leads on that. The UK High Commissioner, her name is Yamina, not that she ever replies to our emails, but never mind. She's the High Commissioner for the UK for Rwanda, and she's also female. And then they have Minister of Gender and Family Promotion, and the first female pilot for Rwanda, and her name is Esther. So there's quite a few prominent chief executive and leadership roles that are held by women. So.
And when we flew on Rwanda Air as well, which was fantastic, which I think we'll mention a bit later. Just some a bit more statistics on women. You'll see the percentages, safe place to live and all that stuff. Even the Supreme Court's got more women than men.
Yeah.
And another one interesting one I mentioned is women can use their land to get a loan. This is a big problem in Africa, where you have the historical patriarchal system of land being held by the chiefs, and we're very proud that the land is owned by the masses, but actually in practice, a lot of the land is controlled by the chiefs, given to men. And when the woman breaks up with the man, sometimes they get thrown off the land, and there's loads of different contradictions with it. So this is really quite a big issue when women can use land to get loans and get security so they can develop themselves and get businesses and stuff like that. So there's a women's network of, you know, vocational skills and developing themselves, and they're encouraging girls to do what's traditionally male subjects, so engineering and science subjects and stuff like that. It's not just sort of the traditional subjects. Infrastructure, I won't go into too much detail on it, but it is excellent infrastructure. Mm-hmm. Loads of the buildings are brand new and they're world class.
Yeah.
I mean, world class facilities, the airport and convention centre all over the place. It really is something to see. Housing is mixed, of course. You'll see in the bottom right how parts of Kigali you can see a lot of people living like that. We can see the old settlements, the kind of small properties. But if you notice, they're brick made or concrete, and most of them have got decent roofs. So there must have been some work done, we're assuming. We didn't find out for sure, but the government must have helped with the roofing, because a lot of the roofs are very, you know, good quality roofing. It's not just shacks, loads of shacks everywhere. And there is a whole program. Yeah, there's a whole program to modernize. Some of these other pictures we're showing are social housing actually in Rwanda, which some of it is better than social housing in places like in Western countries, but it's really, really, they're doing a lot of work. And they're asking for investors to come in to help them with the housing. They know that they need loads more housing. And we know we're running out of time, so we're going to speed up a few bits. There's lots of community activities. And what they do is have these fantastic programs where they close down the country once a month for No Car Day. And the last Saturday of every month, they do some of these programs. So this is an example. So they can promote community activity and stuff. And then they have the other program, which is the with a cow. So they help poor people. They don't have a benefit system as such, but what they do is help poor people to have a cow who can produce milk and a source of income potentially for them long term. So there's really quite interesting. They're giving out 120,000 households have had a dairy cow so far. So it's quite important. Environment, they're very strong on environmental issues. You'll see that virtually everywhere we went, it was landscaped. I don't know how they do it, but it's just landscaped everywhere. But they're also strong environmentally as well. They banned plastic bags in 2008. They're doing a lot of work around greening the country, as well as being eco-friendly, basically, with loads of initiatives. So just to finish off, this is a big factor, is the tourist sector. So we're going to finish off now anyway, because we know we've gone over 20 minutes. I know Bevis is calling out. But that's just an example of where we stayed, a 5-star hotel and that's a Rwandan-based one. And that's more or less it, I think. So just a few more.
Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, I think because of time, we will do all the questions at the end, if you don't mind.
That's fine.
Yeah, okay. Patrick, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Wonderful, I can hear you now, so please take over, sir.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for being here. I've just set my countdown clock going because I've condensed a 3-hour presentation into 20 minutes. Just to give you a little bit about myself, I've been traveling the African continent now for over 20 years. Primarily been going to West Africa, but over the last few years, I've been going mainly to East Africa, where we have a business set up and everything else. I'm going to ask you to have a pen ready because I'm going to whiz through stuff and give you some information to follow up on. And of course, my talk is about Uganda, so good afternoon. Please take down these 2 website addresses, Kwizera.com. This is the gateway to most of the information which I'm going to present to you today, and KwizeraTours.com, which I will talk about as I go through the presentation, which is about our tours that we run, why we run them, and who they're targeted towards. So let me continue with the slideshow. Just give me a second here. I don't know why this is not going. Oh, here we go. Okay. I'm going to whiz through this quickly, but because I know some of the other presenters do talk about the presentation of Africa to the rest of the world. And this is the Africa that we have come to see. And it is not really a true reflection. We have some, certainly a lot of misconceptions about what's happening. Yes, there are poor parts of Africa, but as the gentleman just pointed out, talking about Rwanda, it is a very upcoming place to be. And it also is a very modern place in a lot of the cities. This is what we don't see. Entrepreneurs flying around in jets, and the fashion industry, which is really taking off using natural fabrics, and that's from West to East Africa as well. I go into detail on this in the presentation, but we're going to whiz through this now because there's some more important parts that I want to cover in detail. So here again, the Africa we see, the Africa we don't see. As you can see, the picture on the left here represents a good representation of what we just saw in Rwanda, modern living lifestyle, as opposed to the deprivation and poverty that is portrayed to us on the media. Okay, I'm not going to cover this in detail, but I want the individuals watching this to actually do some research on the West African eco-currency. I go into detail about the good and the bad of this, and is it a trick, what's happening with the French and what they're doing there, because it's good to have an understanding of Africa. A lot of people think of Africa as one mass where everything is homogeneous and everything is just the same, but there is 55 countries, and it can be quite different traveling from west to east in terms of the politics, in terms of the former colonizers and the controls they have and what's happening. And there is certainly a lot going on in West Africa at the moment, which is not very nice, but I'm going to ask you to take down and just look into the ECOWAS currency countries, understand what's happening there, understand about the CFA franc and how the French has got control of that and what's happening there again. And so that's just some homework that people can go into. So we'll just move on quickly onto that. And then, yes, it's a single trade bloc, the West African CSA, and there is certainly a lot of controversy on how this has been implemented. And forgive me if I'm speaking fast because I do have a lot to get through. And again, I'd like people to just really understand about this currency, how it's deprived Africa from trillions and trillions of dollars each year because of the control that the French have over this. And now it's actually, it's setting that region back decades in terms of the amount of money that's being controlled by France. I know some people may know about that, but again, that's something we need to look into because there's a big movement against the abuse that France is committing in these countries that are part of the West African CFA. So again, I'd like people to really go into that and do a bit of research on that. And moving on. Okay, I'm going to talk about Uganda, and Uganda has recently discovered oil and gas, and because of that, and it's quite a large find, they are actually driving a large infrastructure development project at this moment. They're building new roads, new waterways, really using a lot of that money, hopefully very wisely, to improve the infrastructure. And some of you may know or may not know that Uganda borders onto Rwanda, which the gentleman spoke about, but it's also surrounded by other countries, which is Kenya, South Sudan, Tanzania, and where else? I think that's about it. Yeah, Kenya, Tanzania, South Sudan, and Rwanda. So it is a central hub in the East African region. What you're looking at here is a project which we're just putting in place. We have an office, Kwizera.com, my business partner, you can see on the right there. We have an office set up in Uganda, in Kampala. Now that office is to facilitate anyone that wants to do business in that region. We will accommodate them coming in, we will look after them, make sure that they're looked after from start to finish. It's called our airport to airport service. What we're actually doing is we are going out and finding individuals, businesses who needs investment. Now, for instance, if you look on the left here, you can see Investee One. I'll just tell you a little bit more about that. That is a farmer who grows tomatoes. He's looking for a small investment so he can add value to his product and turn that, and then offers that product to the local business base or sell it in the local shops. Now, in terms of the capital needed, it's a very small amount, but as you and I know, a very small amount to us in terms of maybe $5,000, $6,000 is a large amount to someone on the ground simply because they haven't got the access to capital like we have. So what we do is research the offer, structure it in a way that's easy to understand. Here, I'll just actually, that's easy to understand, and present that to individuals who may want to invest in that business. We're also not just looking for individuals who want to invest, but maybe individuals who want to offer their assistance in helping that business grow. The partnership is negotiated on a one-to-one level, and we facilitate that negotiation in our offices in Kampala. On the right, you'll see my business partner. She's based in Kampala. She's a Ugandan, and she runs the office there. And my main responsibility is connecting the diaspora and us with those individuals that want investment. The project is going to launch next month. We've delayed it because of what's happening now in the, well, don't need to go into detail on that, but you can pre-register at kwizera.com/club, and you can download some of our sample investment sheets that we have to get an example of how we present the investment and what we do. And there'll be a lot more coming, but if you pre-register there, you'll get the full information once we launch in the coming weeks. Okay, now we've been running tours to Uganda every single month this year. The next one, which was due to be in April, has unfortunately been, April has fortunately been cancelled. But if you go to thekwizeratours.com, you'll see that you can register for a tour any month right through to December this year, and they're ongoing. So whether it's 1 person or 10 person, we will accommodate them. The tours are not just for fun. What we do is we take people on a tour of both cities, Entebbe and Kampala. We also introduce them to what's happening there in terms of development. If they're investors looking to develop, we'll introduce them to what's happening there. We also take them on a safari, and Uganda is certainly one of the best places for safaris other than Serengeti in Uganda. It's got lots of national parks, lots to see, and we take people on a tour there. You can see a presentation video on kwizeratours.com, and all the information that you will need about tours or anything else or what we do is on that site there. So that's somewhere I'd encourage you to go and have a look at. We have a very special tour going on in October this year. It's a 10-day extended tour, and is incorporates Reggae on the Nile, which is a 3-day event held in Jinja, which is a town not far from Kampala. And that's going to be a fantastic event. It's been going on for a few years now, but we've incorporated our tour to accommodate the 3-day extended tour. Our tours normally last for about 7 days, but we've accommodated this 3-day event, and it's called Reggae on the Nile. And also that information is on kaieratours.com, and that's happening in October this year, God willing. So go on. Okay, now let's jump over to East Africa. One of the fastest growing regions, as the gentleman that spoke just in front of me pointed out, one of the fastest growing region in East Africa at the moment. And it's also, to me, a very beautiful region. I've traveled around most of these countries, and I can tell you that the warmth and reception that I've received it's been absolutely fantastic. And that's what really put a stop to me traveling any further when I came across Uganda and just saw what a beautiful place it was. And how the people was warm. And of course, it's in need of a lot of things, but really, this is what we're looking to facilitate, that connection between what's needed on the ground and what we can offer as diasporans to the country. Okay, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but on my presentations, I do go into a lot of the comments that I get nearly every single presentation I do is, what's the Chinese doing in Uganda? Is it a good or bad thing? And I open this up for a debate. We normally speak about this for about 30 minutes. I'm going to quickly tell you my impression. It is a good thing what China is doing, because if you think of the former colonizers and what they did and how they left Africa, China is coming in. And like any country that has got so much excess capital as China, you're looking for places to invest. The only thing that I would say is, like China, how they developed, and a lot of people don't recognize this, America developed China, because America moved a lot of their industrial complexes to China, and China benefited from that. But China was not silly. They were very clever in that process. What they did, they looked at the technology and they just copied it. So I'm saying, we as Africans need the investment capital. China, as one Chinese man said to me when a point was raised in terms of, you know, what are you doing in China? You're taking all the resources. He just pointed out and said, at least we're paying for it, which I guess that put a stop to that. Yes, they are. So what I'm saying, investment capital is needed in Africa, without a shadow of a doubt. China has got a lot of money to invest. And so like any country with lots of money to invest, they're looking for a place to invest it. And as long as this can be done on a win-win solution, I see nothing wrong in that.
Yeah, wait, yes, touch big toe.
Hello?
We're gonna need some of that real net.
So as I said, there's a lot to go through. This is the gentleman spoke about the growth of the region. The gross domestic product in East Africa is, well, let's go look at the gross domestic product in England. It's less than 1%, whereas Africa has grown at 6.5 and Ethiopia was 8. And that's only, I think this was a thing taken from 2018. So you can see there is lots of growth in the region. What does growth mean? It means there is opportunity for individuals who are looking for opportunity, who are looking to expand their business, or looking to develop a business. There's opportunity there. And there's opportunity for us as diasporans to really look at this region as the go-to region for anyone that wants to improve their circumstances. And not only that, but improve the circumstances of the people on the ground as well. Because business expansion means employment. Employment means community growth. Employment means people are raised up from their standard of living, etc. Okay, why Uganda? Ideally positioned to do business in the East African region. As I mentioned, South Sudan, which is desperately poor country, but is now come out of the deprivation of war between the both regions of Sudan, the South and the what's it, the East and the West, or the South and the North. But it's just come out of that era, And they also have got a big find of oil, and they're looking to rapidly expand and develop. And Uganda is positioned right there. As I mentioned, it borders onto Rwanda, and I almost forgot the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which is the largest country in Africa in terms of geographical size, Tanzania and Kenya. So it's an ideally positioned country as a base business, and it's one of the main reasons why, or one of the reasons why I chose to actually position my business there in terms of access to the other markets. Here's some shots of breathtaking views. Rwanda actually borders onto Lake Nyanza, which is more commonly known as Lake Victoria, but it's the second largest lake in the world, and it borders onto that. So does Kenya and Tanzania. But it's a very nice region, and we're going to talk more about the lakes in a minute. But traveling the countryside, you'll meet lots of different, because there's so many different, I can't remember how many different communities, maybe known as tribes, that there are, but these different communities, different kingdoms, because this area was one of the largest kingdoms in the East Africa. And you can see the difference in styles as you travel across the region. This is an area called, on the picture on the left, Murchison Falls. On our tours, we take everyone there. It's a 3-day trip. We take everyone there. I'd love to share some of the pictures that we took. We just came back about 2.5 weeks ago, just before all this coronavirus stuff, or COVID-19 stuff. Just managed to get back before then. This is a beautiful area. We take everyone there as part of the trip in terms of exploring the Ugandan regions. It's a 3-day safari that we go on. And as I said, more information is on kairatours.com. The safari, you have a choice of going to different areas in the safari. As you may or may not know, the border between Rwanda and Uganda is one of the areas where the largest community of mountain gorillas are, and the other beautiful nature parks holds what's commonly known as the Big Five animals, which are the here's a look at Kampala city. It's a modern city, definitely on the up and up, and we expect that certainly within the next 5 to 10 years, with the oil and gas exploration and the money that's being spent in terms of improving the infrastructure, improving the road network, improving most of the things that we come to accept as standard living in a westernized country, is all being improved. So I'm looking forward to exciting times ahead. And here's a picture of Kampala. We take individuals on the tours here on our trips, and so they can get a feel of what the city is like.
Thank you.
Yep. You can, right. I'm going to quickly rush into property in Uganda. I'm a partner with an investment company or a development company called Pearl Marina. They're now building a new town on Lake Victoria in Entebbe, which is the second city of Uganda. It is a modern town, and it will incorporate all of the things that we have come to recognize as standard in terms of what we're used to. It will have hotel, resorts, shopping centers, office park, sporting facilities, an international school, and a specialized hospital as well, which will be an hospital that individuals can come to from all over the world for specialized treatment. This is a very exciting development. What's happening? It's actually been dubbed the diasporan town of Uganda, and I am an agent for the developers there, so we promote this avidly on our trips to Uganda. More information can be found about this development. You can download the brochure and see all the pricing of the different houses, apartments. It's a community, so it'll have everything. It'll have a mix of everything. It's been developed by ATHENA Properties. This is not a fly-by-night company. They're a recognized developer for many years in Uganda, but the project is being backed, and this is exciting, by both Kenya and Uganda. and it's a company called Centum. Here is a quick look at some of the properties that's been built on the top, well, top right or top left, depending on how you're looking at the screen, at the apartments and the villas and houses as well. In my presentations, I promote this as certainly a very good spot for individuals who are business-minded and looking for a central base. It will have all the modern facilities, fast fiber internet, good community living in terms of your shops, your office malls. It will also have a marina, so you can travel across to different countries by boat. In, for instance, Tanzania and Uganda and Kenya are reachable by boat across Lake Victoria, which this borders. This has actually been built on a peninsula, so it's surrounded 180. It's surrounded by water on each side. So most of the properties there do have a lakeside view. Yeah, Diasporan Village, Pearl Marina. Gives you a little, the location. It's about 35 minutes from Entebbe, sorry, it's about 20 minutes from Entebbe Airport and 35 minutes from Kampala. It's a very nice part of Uganda in terms of traffic, because traffic in every city is terrible. And I'll confess that the traffic in Kampala can be very bad, but around Entebbe is not so bad, and it's a very nice area. And you're 35 minutes from Kampala should you need to get into the city. And there is a Kampala-Entebbe road, which is a highway, which was again built by the Chinese, very modern road, very quick access. Well, it's basically a motorway from Entebbe into Kampala. Just to give you again a look at where Uganda is in terms of the surrounding regions. You can see there, ideally placed right in the center for doing business in that region. This is a shot of the artist's impression of what the new town that's been built in Entebbe will look like. As you can see for yourself, it will be a very stunning place to be stationed there. And certainly people from all over the world are looking at this as a good spot to anchor themselves in Uganda. Who are the developers? Is my money safe? I'm not going to go into detail on that. I've gone over by 2 minutes, so I'm getting a call. So I've got my clock running. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to finish because the presenter is calling me to get off. So again, I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to encourage you to find out more by going to Kwizera.com. All the information is there. We've got a menu on the front page. It takes you all over to what we're doing. Thank you very much, and I will end my presentation now.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I thoroughly enjoyed that, just as the other presentations. And we're going to move.
She's on now.
Okay, Khadijah.
Yes, okay, greetings everybody. Thank you so much to Bevis and the Luton men for creating this webinar. And thank you for everybody for taking the time to come and listen today to all of us. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Khadijah Ward. I'm the author of Black Sterling, founder of Dark Girl Boss, and now of Genes of Greatness Tours, your gateway to return to Africa. So the Gateway Genes of Greatness Tours is all about going back to Sierra Leone. And you may ask yourself, why Sierra Leone? So I'll explain it to you why Sierra Leone. For example, these tours are about practical application of my book, Black Sterling, which was all about nation building, independence and collective Black wealth for the African diaspora. So that's what my book was about. So these tours are about the practical application of that book. So we can go back, we can build, we can have unity with people that look like us and build up Africa and build up independence for ourselves. That's the whole point of these Genes of Greatness tours. And why Sierra Leone is because I went to Sierra Leone and I absolutely fell in love with Sierra Leone. It's absolutely beautiful, beautiful place, beautiful. There's about a 10 million, I think 9-10 million population. It has magnificent landscapes of mountains and everything. It's absolutely beautiful. There's about 16 tribes there. They speak, the main language is Creole. because that was because of the slavery. So the main language is Creole, but there are 16 tribes there. And they also, there's also headmen in each village that control different parts of the village. It's very, very untouched. It's untouched at the moment. So it's ripe for investment. That's what we need to be looking at. At the moment, they're building up a lot of roads and universities, and they're really into, this new prime minister, this new president, should I say, is really into tourism. So he's looking to start bringing tourism into the country, to bring money into the country. So we want everyone to be a part of that. We're going to do our first tour in November. So it's going to be towards the end of November. We have room for 14 people because of the resort that we're staying at. It's a friend of mine who I'm now a part of that. I'm now a partner in that resort. She's a Sierra Leonean, and she went back to Sierra Leone about 10 years ago, and she built this beautiful resort. I've lost all of my footage when I went to Sierra Leone, so I don't really have much to show you. I just have like my website to show you. So I can only kind of talk around the website. It's a shame, I had so much beautiful footage. But we want you to come along to this tour, not just to have fun. There is going to be fun. There's going to be excursions, historic excursions. There's going to be, you know, fun raves or outings, as they call them. But really, we want people to come to look at the country for investments. And it's really, there's opportunities for investments in agriculture, transport, import and export, land and housing, natural resources, water and gold and diamonds. We have contacts. We actually have contacts, because you can't really go to Sierra Leone and just try to invest without knowing anybody. You're likely to get ripped off. So it's important that you're with people that has the proper connections, and we do. We have proper connections that can help you invest in these particular areas. And we have lots of trustworthy, established connections, and some of them are in government as well. As I said, it's really, 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 really untouched. It's a beautiful place. And the place where the hotel is based is called Kent. So Kent is a Creole fishing village on the peninsula. And it's many small villages. And it's facing the Banana Islands. It's only about 20 minutes by boat from the Kent to the Banana Islands. The Banana Islands is famous because of, you know, the slave trade. And there's all different, they still have all the different, you know, relics there, like the cannons and everything, and also the graveyards and things like that. And a lot of our ancestors are based in that Kent area. So it's really, really beautiful to look at. It's very, very cultural. The people are absolutely wonderful. It's quite poor in a lot of places. There are a lot of poor people there, but it's very, very entrepreneurial. People there isn't any, state benefits, so you don't have any of that. So you find that people are entrepreneurs, most people, even very young people, because sometimes you find that the young people have to go out and they have to help their parents, so they may not even go to school. So you'll find 10-year-olds trading, and it's usually in Freetown. Freetown is the capital. So in the markets, you'll find that everybody trading their wares, whatever it is. It could be plastic bags, it could be fruit, it could be foods, anything they can get their hands on, they will trade, and that's what they do. So you find that there isn't really much crime in Sierra Leone because people are quite honest in terms of making a living. So they try to build up themselves with, you know, as you've been an entrepreneur. In terms of the education, at the moment, this new government, they've put money into education. So children up to, I think, the age of 10 are getting free education. And also they're paying for the children to travel to school. But there's also opportunities for the African diaspora to go over there and put money into transport. You know, you can buy buses and things like that. So it's really, really ripe for investment. So for me, it's really, really important to for us to be able to get over there to try to explore the country, Obviously see if you like it. If it isn't something that you like, then you may not want to invest in it. But I'm sure that you will go there and you'll fall in love with it. This picture that you can see now, that's the cotton tree. And the cotton tree is famous for where the ex-slaves first came into the country, and they started to pray around the cotton tree, and there was a lot of rituals going on for the cotton tree. So that's really famous. It's a huge, massive tree in the middle of Freetown. It's a real tourist attraction. Yeah, so it's really, really beautiful. And that picture there is just the fishing. As I said, at Kent, it's a fishing village. So you'll find, you know, lots of fishing going on, boating, sailing. And where the hotel is, where our resort is, it's very, very quiet. It's very, very exclusive. And if you do come and you stay with us, as I said, we've only got room for like 14 people at a time. There won't be anybody else staying there apart from the people that come on the tours. So it's going to be very, very intimate, and you'd have lots of attention given to you in terms of what your needs are for investments, the fun, the adventures and everything. So it will just be a very, very small group of up to 14 people. So that's there. Let me just go into the tours part. So that's just talking about, as I was just talking about, my friend's resort that she built, where we'll be staying. So the tours are actually, that's when I was in Gambia, actually, not even Sierra Leone, but I just thought it was a beautiful, beautiful picture. And that's a small boy that we captured in the village, in one of the villages. And that's women just going on to, you know, doing all of their wares. And there's questions here as well, because people normally ask about, is it safe? Yes, it's very, very safe. There isn't any Ebola there. People worry about, when I was going there, people asked me about Ebola. Well, they don't have Ebola there anymore. It's very safe. It's very beautiful. It's surrounded by, it's close to Guinea and also Liberia. So, and it's also just 1 hour away from Gambia on the plane. And it's called Salone. That's the pet name. That's what the locals call it. So they don't call it Sierra Leone, they call it Salone. So it's known by the name Salone. Yeah, and that's that. So that's kind of, my presentation is very, very short, because we're just starting now with our tours, as I said, but we really want people to come to explore the country, explore the Kent area, and just really invest in the country. I myself have invested in the country as well, not just in the hotel, but I've also had some investments in the country. So I wouldn't be asking people to do something that I haven't done. And it's very easy to, you know, buy land and things like that there. If you know people, you have to, as I said, you have to go through the proper channels. Otherwise, there may be problems in terms of people getting ripped off, I will be honest. Because, as I said, that some people are poor there. So if there's an opportunity for them not to, for people to get ripped off, sometimes they take it. But it's really, they have, the currency there is Leones, and it's really, really cheap. I think, say, there's about 12 Leones or something, I think, to £1 or something. I mean, I bought, say, for example, I bought some avocados. I bought about 6 avocados, and it was about 20 pence, equivalent to about 20 pence. So you can see living there would be really, really cheap. You could go there, buy land and build and live very, very cheaply. And it's a beautiful place to live. So, and as I said, we'd be going to the excursions that we're going on would be just so that you could see what the island, see what the country looks like, going to historic places, going to museums, and also going around the community, meeting the headmen, meeting the villagers and the locals and things like that. And also, you know, having some fun, obviously, on the resort itself. So that is it. I mean, if you want more information, I can message you with some more information. You can message me, I'll give you more information. As I said, I lost all of my footage when I was over there. I had lots and lots of footage of the beauty of the country, the mountains and everything, and when I was going to meet people and, you know, the different places that I went to, Banana Islands and Bunce Island and all of them, but I've lost all of that footage, unfortunately, so I don't really have much to show you. But I hope you have a snapshot of what the country is like from what I've said, and the opportunities that are there for you. And as I said, that my friend who's Sierra Leonean, she was been there for the last, say, I think 10 years. And she has a lot of connections with government and important people. So this is something that that could work very well. And it could be a very, very smooth transition in terms of you wanting to invest, or maybe even wanting to live in Sierra Leone, you know, doing your business and everything. It'd be quite an easy transition because it's about the connections of who you know. So we can introduce you to the right people. So as soon as you know that you want to do something, you're interested in one aspect of investment or whatever, then we will put you in touch with those people. And they will come actually to the resort and talk to people. There will be a presentation to people that come on the tours. There will be a presentation held at the resort to let you know about all the opportunities that you can invest in. So I think for me, that's kind of it. That's my 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Khadijah. Thank you for that thoroughly enjoyable information. Well, thank you. Please take it away. Thank you, Jide.
Hi, everyone. Firstly, may I say, thoroughly enjoyed the presentation so far. Absolutely brilliant. I'm even more excited about some of the locations and the information that's been shared, to go to some of these locations, you know, most of them actually, because they sound that intriguing, that interesting, and very enriching as well. So thank you very much to everybody so far that has made their presentations. My name is Jide Oriogun. Baba Jide Oriogun is my full name. I'm Nigerian, of Nigerian parentage, born and raised in the UK. I'm a civil engineer by profession, recently retired. So I've got a lot of time on my hands. Well, when I say retired, I'm sort of semi-retired. Still working on projects, mainly to do with film and film narratives. In my spare time, you may have seen me out and about doing a little bit of videography and photography as well, because that is the field that I enjoy the most and that I'm engaging with the most as well. All right. I'm actually putting this presentation together, or has been put on together, by somebody else, the actual proprietor of the business. I am merely someone who's been on the trips, thoroughly enjoy the trips, and has been asked to put the presentation to the audience on Sister E's behalf. Okay. So there's just a little bit of an introduction. And this is what we're going to go through. Okay. Ghana, about Ghana. The Republic of Ghana. Oh, firstly, I must apologize. I know the visual representation is a lot more, I guess, digestible and easy to picture. I haven't put any of those together, so I must apologize. I'll try and make it as pictorial for you in your minds as possible. Okay, hopefully with some of the words here, you can see just how enjoyable the trip actually is. The Republic of Ghana is in the west of Africa, along the coast of the Guinea and the Atlantic Ocean. The name Ghana means warrior king and relates back to the Ghana Empire between the 9th and the 13th centuries. Ghana has a population roughly half that of the UK. Ghana has a total area of 238,533 square kilometers, 92 square miles. It's divided into 16 regions, with Accra as the capital in the greater region. There are over 60 indigenous languages, language dialects, the main ones being Ga, Twi, Ewe, and Fenty. Facts about Ghana. Ghana was the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to go independent post-colonialism in 1957. Ghana was ranked as Africa's most peaceful country by the Global Peace Index. Lake Volta is the Volta region. In the Volta region is the world's largest man-made lake. It has the largest market in West Africa called Kejetia which is located in Kumasi in the Ashanti region. Ghana produces the second most cocoa beans in the world, Ivory Coast being the first. I can see someone nodding their head there going, yeah, I know. Gateway into Africa, which is what Ghana is. It stems from the impact of the first president of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah. Ghana is known for its hospitality, its very friendly people, its tropical climate, political stability, very low crime rate, one of the safest destinations in Africa. Ghana as a top 10 place to visit in Africa. You can get a direct flight via BA. It's only 6.5 hours from London, and that goes from Gatwick Airport. You can actually, I think you might be able, yeah, sorry, no, it's just from Gatwick Airport. At present, the exchange rate is 7 cedis to £1. Okay. Elmina Castle, the dungeons, is on the UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's one of the oldest and best preserved castles, some call it, or dungeons in the world. The ancient fort was built by the Portuguese, but captured by the Dutch and used for 250 years as a holding area to transport enslaved Africans to the New World. You visit historical sites such as Cape Coast dungeons. Oh, right, sorry. It's like a pilgrimage to many of the diaspora. I don't know whether last year, which was deemed the year of return, you may have seen a lot of video footage and maybe social media interactions with regards to mainly a lot of African Americans going over to Ghana. It really made a huge impact last year. And the president of Ghana has invited, extended that invite to the diasporans to come over to Ghana. So the Calabash Hub was, or is, essentially, some of you may know her as Sister E, Sister Esther. She claims herself as a culturepreneur and a businesswoman. Being proud of her African roots, she created the Calabash Hub back in 2010. She left the UK in 2018 and is permanently residing in Ghana, enjoying the sun, the sea, the people, and the culture. Right, the Calabash Hub. Calabash Hub is a sanctuary that fosters the principles of Afri-centered learning to link and inspire like-minded people with the diaspora to gain knowledge and empowerment through historical, cultural, educational information via creative workshops, sale of, the term sale of made in Ghana goods and Ghana tours. So totally immersing yourself in Ghanaian culture. The company's motto is reaching across the divide, sharing heritage, and changing futures. So the Ghana Cultural Experience will go through what it's about, the itinerary, general information, the booking form, and the payment plan. As you can guess, this presentation really is just about going on the cultural experience for those who have either never traveled to Africa before or just have Ghana on their bucket list. So the history of the Ghana Cultural Experience, it first started back in 2011 and has taken place every November except for 2012, 2016, and more than likely this year, 2019. It's an exciting 10-day journey designed to unify and reconnect our brothers and sisters across the divide by exposing places of historical interest to them. The grassroots journey will give you an opportunity to learn through exploration and cultural adventures to acquire the real taste and hands of the experience through visualizing traditions, customs, lifestyles of central, Ashanti, Eastern and Greater Accra regions of Ghana. You'll see the localities and experience guides. You'll have experienced guides traveling in a mini bus to all the locations. And by the end of the trip, you will either not want to leave, or you definitely will put Ghana down as one of those destinations you will revisit. So, as part of a tour, you'll visit the city, you'll visit the Independence Square and the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum or Museum. I can say from first-hand experience, I've actually been 3 times myself. It is a thoroughly engaging experience, especially going through the museum. You learn a lot of the history of Kwame Nkrumah, who he was associated with at the time, how the movement was really trying to galvanize the African community, that being all the African countries. You'll go to Independence Square as well, just feel the warmth and the energy of the history of Ghana. You have an opportunity to interact with the chiefs, the elders of the local community. Again, another thoroughly rewarding experience where you get an opportunity to get an African name. It will be a Ghanaian name that will be given to you, which you may, I think from memory, what happens is they ask you a little bit about yourself, get a little bit of understanding about you, because most African names are given for a reason. They represent exactly who you are. So you get a chance to get endowed with an African name. You'll experience and witness cultural performances and customary practices. Those will be dances and poetry, spoken word demonstrations. Okay. We also have I think it's a 1 or a 2 day traditional cooking lesson. So you'll get to cook the well-known jollof rice and some plantain, done in a very traditional Ghanaian way, and the stew as well, which in Nigeria we call it red soup, but this is a Ghanaian style of stew. So you'll get to perform the cooking yourself. You get to visit the Elmina dungeon and go through a guided tour from a very experienced tour guide, of which you actually get to go through the door of no return as well, which is it's quite an interesting experience, and I would say also a very life-changing experience as well. Once you've actually walked through the dungeons, understood what our ancestors had gone through before they left the shores, and the doors through which they went left to go to the new world. It is an experience that I would say will never ever leave you. It certainly has never left me. You also get to go through to the other dungeon in the region, which is Cape Coast Dungeon. And after that, you have a homecoming commemoration, giving thanks to the ancestors with affirmations, candles, and offerings. I remember what we do is we stand in the toe of the sea and just wash away all the impurities, allow the ancestors to bless us. And again, it's another really humbling experience. Kakum National Park, the Rainforest Trek and the Canopy Walk is another fantastic experience, walking the 7 bridges, which are some 150 or so meters up in the sky. I love doing stuff like that. It, really gets the boy from the man in me to just have mischievous fun and just enjoy the beauty of Ghana and the rainforest itself. We also get the chance to visit Okarasi village, which is a community project. Fantastic project. I can't remember how long it's been going. I actually visited Ghana, I think the first time was 2013, and it had been going for about 2 years at that point. The project itself is a project that has taken up a large expanse of land and used the community, you know, experienced and non-experienced tradespeople to become builders of their own infrastructure. So they've started from the ground up, excavating land, building foundations, raising a building, which is, I think, a community building, a school, and I think it was an IT hub as well. Fantastic project, which really engages the entire community. We're talking men, women, children, building for themselves rather than relying on outsiders. The Okarasi Junior School, again, is another fantastic place to go and visit, where you see the young people. You have an opportunity to bring from London or where it is you are in the UK, gifts to give to the young people. And that could be anything. Mostly, what in my time of going, it's been books, pencils, color pens, you know, all stationery goods, because some of these things they don't have access to, or is quite expensive for them. Okay, and you also have an opportunity to finance and fund the school projects and the school itself. We get an opportunity to have a drum and a dance workshop, which is really fun. A young man who owns the business out there, his name is Powerful, and he actually is a drum maker, and he can make bespoke drums for everybody who comes to the tour, obviously at a price, and they're made in different sizes as well. Beautiful drums. I've actually invested in one myself the first time I went. Yeah, just another one of the beautiful activities that form part of it. We also travel through the Akwampin Mountains, through the botanical gardens, and there we learn about different plants, plants that we take for granted over in the UK or wherever we are, that just arrive on our doorsteps or in the supermarkets. We actually get to see the trees and touch some of the plants and learn about their properties. And then there is a boat ride down the Vault Lake in Akosombo, which is a nice, beautiful, top of the range resort. You know, you get to visit the lake on a boat, which is about an hour's journey, and also just experience the resort itself, which is you know, a sight to behold. We also get to visit the Mayan Manhaya, I hope I'm saying that right, Palace Museum, and learn about the Ashanti Kingdom and Ya Asantwa, which again gives you a real in-depth knowledge of Ghanaian history, seeing these things firsthand. And you get to see the Golden Stool. Ntonso Village, the creative activities of the Adinka demonstration and stamping. This is where we get the opportunity to actually see firsthand and feel firsthand how Ashanti cloth are woven, put together and stamped as well with all the Adinka symbols. And then the visit on the Bonwire village, where we can go through the Kente weaving workshops. So you can do the weaving yourself, and also there's plenty to shop and buy at very affordable prices. Okay. plenty of time for leisure. You can mix the actual sightseeing with your own elements of leisure. Of course, there is a program. In that program, you can pick and choose which areas you want to use for your own leisure, or which you want to join the entire crew. You've got an opportunity to go to the beach, which is very close by to the hotel. There's shopping and art centres that you get to visit. Now you can do either of these with the assigned driver, because there will be an assigned driver for the entire group, or you can take local taxis or minibuses yourselves. Okay, you get to visit the local markets and the restaurants, chop bars, and also there's nighttime entertainment. So if you want a little bit of excitement for the nighttime bars, there's loads of that to do. You can do it in groups, or if you want to go on your own, it's entirely up to you. Okay. Right, accommodation. It has been up until this year. This year would have been the first year where it's at Alicia Hotel, somewhere I've never been to before, and I'm getting to know a little bit more about. I think you can look that up on Google to see what that particular establishment's like. But it normally was in a place called Asari, which is just about an hour outside of central Accra. But this hotel is sited in Greater Accra in a residential area called Labon. It's easy travel distance from the airport to the beach and shopping areas. We are greeted at the entire group when we land at Accra Airport. We're greeted and taken to the hotel as a group in the minibus. Okay. When we go to the Cape Coast, we actually stay at a resort called One Africa House. Some of you may have seen the videos of our elder, who actually is the host of the establishment. Beautiful place, and the entertainment and the welcoming is fabulous. It really is. So 2020, as you know, because of the issues that we've got, the pandemic at the moment is more than likely going to shut down any likelihood of the trip taking place this year. So really, all bookings are being taken for 2021. Okay. So the Ghana Cultural Experience for 2021 takes place in two phases, actually. There's one in July for the Panifest. That's around about the 25th of July up until Emancipation Day, the 1st of August. And the traditional one, which takes place in November. Okay, now, depending on which you're interested in, you're urged to email the the Calabash Hub to say which one you're interested in, and then that's, the communication will take place on that basis. Okay, the cost, just under £2,000, inclusive of flight, accommodation, travel, food, the hotel, entrance fee, and workshops. Payment plan, deposit of £289, and a flexible payment plan of 8 monthly instalments. Alternative arrangements can be discussed with Sister E. The booking form, hard copy will be given at a meet and greet, or online copy link and emailed via Google Docs. Now, I will say that what I love about the way Sister E arranges this is that she engages, once you've shown an interest, she engages with her UK representatives, such as myself and one other, to meet with you so that you can, once you've been furnished with all the documents and information that you can grab hold of, you actually get the chance to meet and greet not just us, but others as well that might be interested, and just to have the conversation, to ask questions that are bugging you, that might be on your mind, maybe some suggestions that you might want to bring to the table, that may or may not be able to be added to the experience as well. But it just gives you that chance to sort of gear up towards the actual event, the dates, and also to really assure you whether or not you want to go on the trip. It's really for you to furnish yourself with as much information and then decide, yep, you're definitely going, and then go on the payment plan, okay? So what are the requirements? You need a valid passport, 6 months from the date of travel. You'll need a visa. It'll be a 3 months tourist visa, minimum one. Inoculation, you'll need a yellow fever inoculation. You have to be 18, and if you're under 18, you'll need to be accompanied by parent stroke guardian. This is my testimonial. I can't remember when I did it, but clearly I did do it. They are my words, trust me. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I have enjoyed it 3 times. I was going to go, thinking of going this year. I may be going 2021. It's just that nice a trip. Ghana as a country is beautiful. The host, Sister E, is very, very attentive, very accommodating, and she really makes the experience worthwhile. So, as I mentioned earlier on, you need to make an expression of interest. Once you've actually digested all the information that you can, you need to formally say, yep, I'm interested in going, and then sign on the dotted line, so to speak. So, is Ghana on your bucket list? Have you dreamt of visiting the motherland before? Are you looking for that African connection? Ghana could be the place that you want to go. So whether you want to go as a group or a solo traveler, this is an adventure for you and yours. There will be a limited number of places. I will say this, that Sister E is very adamant that the group is quite intimate. So to my knowledge, she's never taken anything less than, any number less than 10. And no more than, I think, 17. 17 is the largest number that I believe she's actually taken. So, and I believe the reason for that is really just so as everyone really gets to interact, engage with one another over the 10 days. And it's an enjoyable experience. So I won't take any questions now because I believe Bevis wants to leave the questions and answers to the very end. So that is it from me.
Thank you very much, Jide. Appreciate that. Because we're running out of time, Hughie, so I may have to, ask you to be as quick as possible. So if you could reduce your time as much as possible.
No problem at all.
Thank you.
My name is Hughie Rose, Director of AGA Tours Limited. AGA Tours, we've been working in the Gambia, which is West Africa, since 2006. I first went to the Gambia I went there initially as a birthday present, and then I went back with a group ran by a gentleman called Basil, who runs a Pempanzi bookshop and also a vegan restaurants in Brixton. And I traveled with him in a group for 2 years straight, 2004, 2005. And then 2006, he stopped doing it. So 2006, we put on our first group trip to the Gambia through a program that they had in the Gambia called the Roots Homecoming Festival. So that's how AGA Tours was born. All right, so we'll start the slide presentation. All right, welcome to the Gambia. Being the smallest country within West Africa.
Sorry, okay, it's okay, keep going. There was just a message there temporarily, but it's gone now.
All right, being the smallest country within West Africa, it's situated within a country called the Senegal. And so at one point, it was all owned by the French. And then when they fought the British, and the British took the Gambia side, and the French took the Senegal side. It is probably the most visited country within West Africa by tourists here in Britain. And as of the last 5 years, many of our people from the diaspora have been visiting the Gambia. So who are we? Like I said, AGA was born 2006. Our first group trip, we took 37 people, and still up until this day, we roughly run around 2 trips per year, carrying around 100 people every year to the Gambia. We try and encourage and support the community we visit to reconnect with Africa and reawaken your DNA. We collaborate with youth organizations to organize rites of passage. Our last rites of passage program we did was 2018 with a group called Manhood Academy for Boys. And so these are 13 to 19-year-old boys who start a program in the UK. Then we take them to the Gambia for them to complete their rites of passage. We promote community investment opportunities, support local businesses to improve standards, invest in education, health, and skills development to enable employment opportunities, training and development in raising awareness towards prevention and the benefits of the natural resources available in Africa. Our group tours are culturally driven. We take pride in highlighting and supporting Africans from the diaspora with hands-on access to our heritage. Additionally, we recognize individual needs and are here to accommodate requests and to make people's time in the motherland memorable. So anytime you want to, you just join us if you want to reawaken your African DNA. AGA Tours creates bespoke group tour packages designed to both educate and inspire. You will experience the extraordinary natural beauty of the continent with plenty of cultural and historical stops throughout the duration of the tour. One of the things we do as a Pan-African tour company, from start to finish, we ensure that anybody that comes with us, they look like us. So we don't do any business with any hotels that are non-African. We don't do business with any restaurants that are non-African. All of our tours are with African-owned tour companies. So we set that precedence from the time we're leaving here up until the time when we reach in the Gambia. Here you can just see some of the pictures of some of the people that have been with us. Some of our cultural gatherings. You can see Dr. Abu there from Galaxy Radio Station. Oh, Sister Shanice is in one of our pictures. Sister Shanice came with us 2016 for the Roots Homecoming Festival, which was a very successful festival. That is the great Kunta Kinte Island. They used to call it James Island. It was the last space or spot before Africans were transported to the Americas or to the Caribbean. Through our tours, we achieved charity status in the Gambia and started AGA Global Ambassadors, which was founded in 2014, and we're registered as a foundation charity since March of 2016. We support foundation initiatives in education, health, and also accept donations. Our international recognition continues to draw positive energy and good vibration from people who wish to assist and support. Charity begins at home. As you can see, we do annual Health Awareness Day, And obviously, because of the current situation now, they can appreciate that we was always talking about cleanliness, hygiene, washing of hands, disinfectant, and cleaning down hospitals, clinics, and things like that. Leading by example. In 2006, we invested in our first 2 plots of land and still continue to do so up until this day. We encourage what you called land banking investment. As part of our family legacy, our aim is to develop and focus on the vision until we reap the benefits of our labor, just like our parents did, step by step until our vision becomes a reality. The aim is to generate funds through investment to enable us to continue living our best life and develop local communities. Our aim is to develop and promote Africa. This is our ongoing project. Shows you 7 round houses, 6 for rent, and 1 for personal use. That's our motivation. This journey has also given us the opportunity to actively support local trade, people, and the country's infrastructure. So what do I mean by supporting local trade people? So anytime we carry a group, like I said, we take 100 people every year. When we go and support a local craft market, those people will not have to pay anything for 3 months. That the amount of money we spend with them, they're able to feed their families for 3 months, even though we may have only been a week within that country. That's what I mean by support of local trade. By empowering Africans to take greater control of their lives and families, we promote local tourism, ecotourism, well-being, social unity, and economic freedom. If people don't think they have the power to solve their problems, they won't think that a solution is possible. Let us rebrand Africa. Partnerships. So one of the things we've done is put together partnerships with people that are doing credible work within the Gambia. And so one of the persons that I first saw on a group trip in the Gambia in 2005 was Shakina Chinadu. She is a lawyer, legal consultant within her own right, practiced here in England, then decided to leave England and set up in the Gambia. So right now, any properties or anything that we're building in regards to estates, housing estates, Shakina does the legal and the paperwork to make sure that everything is in order. And also she oversees building work while she's there and is involved in land sales. So there's been a few unscrupulous people in the past, and so it's always good to have somebody that can be on side just to go over your paperwork when need to be done. We work in partnerships also with the Gambia Tourist Board, the Returnee Residents Association, Hyperlink Village, Harmony Guest House, Maimuna Restaurant, TAF Global Properties, West African Tours, Bamboo Resort, Ijembe Hotel, Mitzi Hotel. Collaboration is how work is accomplished. Investments opportunities in Gambia. At the moment, currently, land is going up by 15% in value per annum. If you wanted to, could I get this? Let me just see if I can get hold of this. I wanted to just show you a quick clip.
The volume is very, very low. We can't hear it, so it's not really effective.
Okay, no problem. All right, we'll leave that out then. If you get an opportunity, you can go onto my. Sorry. I don't know what's happened there.
It sounds like the video is still playing in the background.
Sound like the video is still playing. Back to the video. Sorry. I don't know how to get out of that.
It doesn't appear to be on that browser session. It may be on another browser session.
If you minimize the screen, you'll see where the video is. Then you can just lock it off.
Yeah, try using Windows key letter M to minimize everything, or minimize just that window. Yeah. Okay. Is it there? I don't think you started it from there.
Is that it?
You can still hear something in the background.
No, I should have.
I think it stopped. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you got a TV on in the background or something? No?
Okay, so switch off the video.
I'm trying to turn that off.
And delete that tab.
Yeah, I'm trying to delete that tab.
Yeah, delete the tab.
And close your Facebook as well, because the alerts keep coming up.
Just close them all down.
Okay. Not used to this technology. All right. That should be it now.
Yeah, close all the browser sessions.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let me get back to the.
Oh, I think you've deleted the presentation. The icon's not at the top anymore. No, it's gone. The icon, you had the PowerPoint presentation icon.
Okay, that's fine. Doesn't matter. Yeah, so I think what we've got down to was down to investments. So I'll just go to my phone to see the rest of what I had left on there. Right, so the part we came up to, the man that was talking, his name is Mr. Taff. So he created pretty much a housing estate within the Gambia, and he's one of the people that we work alongside in regards to properties. And then we had a few of his properties on there. The next thing I wanted to go into was to be with business opportunities within the Gambia. The business opportunities available right now is agriculture, poultry farming. There's a demand for products which is very high in the Gambia. Poultry, you can actually start a business with as little as 20 chickens. Local drinks or juices. Gambia has a wealth of mangoes and baobab trees. There's opportunities to prepare and package these juices. Also make jam, which is becoming more popular. Ground nuts and cashew nuts processing plant. Cashew nuts can be the key to a profitable agricultural business. AIM Africa, time is the master. Since our first visit to the Gambia, we have seen the wealth of opportunities available. Time waits for no one. What are you waiting for? The time is now. Let us make hay while the sun is shining. So we do the historic pilgrimage Return to Your Roots tours twice a year. The next one was scheduled for May, where we was actually going to Dakar, Senegal. But as you can see right now, that's not looking hopeful. And our next annual trip is going to be November the 20th to the Gambia, 20th of November. So anybody that needs to know any more information about it can actually go onto the website, which is www.agatours.co.uk, and the contact number for myself is 07940 081651, or email, which is info@agatours.co.uk. So the next trip again, Gambia 2020, will be for 7 or 14 nights, and I would suggest just go on the website, Agatours, or you can follow us on Facebook again. Agatours Limited is our Facebook page, and you can learn more about the Gambia, as it's probably one of the most exciting countries to be visiting right now at this stage. And to me, I would say it's an introduction country throughout the whole of Africa. If there's very low crime rate, the people are extremely friendly. It's a small country, so you can relatively move around efficiently, and the infrastructure is being built up, and so you're in a position to be able to at least see the start of what you could be doing within your lifetime within the Gambia. I think I'm about at my end.
Okay.
Unless there's anything that I missed out, which I don't think so.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Brother Hughie. I do appreciate that. Thank you very much for that, for your presentation and the information provided.
Okay. Well, okay. Thank you, everyone. It's been really interesting. Thanks, everyone, for staying this long. I'm going to jump back in. Have I got 10 or 20 minutes? I think we're near the end, aren't we?
Yeah, 20 minutes.
Okay, so let's jump straight in and not take too long. We've talked about so many different African countries. I don't want to start a tribal war. I see much of the similarities across the space, and I've seen some really interesting places I'm hoping, like Jide, I'll get to visit. So I'm going to start with just a very quick video to give you just a view of what it's like in Zambia, and then we'll dive into that next level development presentation. There you go. Made that nice and quick, so we won't have to take too long with that. Hopefully my face isn't in the midst of the screen for you. I don't know if it is, but let's just get straight in.
Since I've lost
professionals and volunteers from.
Okay.
You've lost something?
Momentarily, we lost your sound, but keep going, keep going.
Yeah. So we're a collective of committed professionals and volunteers from the UK, USA, and Africa. And we're ordinary individuals who are pooling our skills, talents, and resources to establish a new reality on the continent for the benefit of the motherland and the diaspora as a whole. And we're those who recognize, much like many of our presenters, the importance of our reconnection to Africa and are willing to play an active role in facilitating it. What's our vision? It's to build an intentional community in Zambia, consisting of businesses, farmland, residential areas, which will provide and secure a sustainable basis for members of the diaspora to repatriate to the African continent, and to inspire positive change across the continent and support the development of local communities, and also to establish a blueprint which can be duplicated across the continent. See, why that vision is really important for us is it's not just about going to the continent one by one, but it's actually taking us as a group, taking us as a community to look after each other when we go abroad. It's one thing to pick up your family and travel to a new reality by yourself, but if we do it as groups of 10, 20, 30 families, there's safety in numbers. So let's say, for instance, anyone wants to go abroad and wants to find their place in the sun. Let's think about what you'd have to do as an individual. Travel, find out the best place to be, make local contacts to get started, find, as brother just said, with Sakina, lawyers, estate agents, surveyors, etc. You have to plan your move, buy land, build or buy a home, arrange shipping or personal items. Your vehicles have to be brought in, pay import duties, registration fees. I'll let you look through the rest of it, but that's a list of what each of us would have to do as individuals. If we come together as groups, if we come together as an organization, not necessarily selling the services, but actually just pooling our resources and providing those services to each other at the cost price, we then allow ourselves to have a very firm foundation as we move. And that's, I guess, the ethos of Next Level Developments is not necessarily how do we sell the services, but how do we share the cost of the services to build and move as quickly as possible. And with the present situation that we're in, moving quickly is seems to be a very popular idea as we speak. So what's an intentional community? It's a self-identified community committed to living together in an economically, cultural, and spiritual sustainable way. It's a more inclusive and progressive way to live. One of the things that comes across throughout the presentations that we've heard so far, and was my experience in different countries, but definitely as well in Zambia, you build together. They actually work as communities. You saw in Rwanda, those courts, they had the community-based courts. We saw the same courts when we were in Zambia with people dealing with land disputes or whatever. The community got together and sat down and built that. If we're going back, we need to go back as a community as opposed to going back as individuals. Okay, so why become a founder member of Next Level Developments? As a collective, we can overcome our obstacles, overcome the obstacles and move into Africa at twice the speed and half the cost. We can build our own village, one that can raise our children, protect and provide for our women, and inspire our men. One of the things, it's like we were looking at what was necessary. We don't just need homes and a car out the front and cash in the bank. We actually need ways to develop our families. Our children need an education that will be made for them. We need to be able to take care of our health when we travel abroad. What happens too often is we end up going for a quick holiday, but we're scared because we think, well, all the best things are back in England. If we plan properly and go together, we can build everything we need wherever we go. Whichever African country we go to, as groups, we'll take care of our healthcare, we'll take care of our education, we'll take care of our cultural needs and more. Brexit, why leave the UK? The sheer factor here, I'm guessing I don't have to spend too long on that, but if we look at the statistics around our families, households, education, mental health, crime and employment, the numbers will speak for themselves, so I'm not dwelling on that. In short, from my vantage point, everything our parents came to get has already been got. So we're now on a steady decline with no plan to develop our own communities. There's no point having a few rich people among us. They'll be happy, but the community goes to hell and nobody can escape the fate of the wider community. So it makes sense that we're building as a collective to raise the community together. Okay, so where do we start? So stage one, which is what we really have been focused on, I guess, for the last year now, is building our financial income. Acquiring land parcels, building agricultural systems, gaining building equipment, or actually sending out building equipment and our knowledge. We've sent out vehicles to move goods, supplies, and people. And it's actually the ability to service and maintain our vehicles and equipment, professional catering systems for large scale food preparation. So we're thinking more in terms of how do we move to Africa and actually sustain our needs. Because once those are sustained and we have that all in place, then it's very simple for us to take the surplus of whatever we have and sell those things. But the most important thing is that we're self-sufficient on the land that we're in, on the land that we're on. If you can remember this word, homesteading, and maybe take a look in your own time. There are many people, particularly in the United States right now, who are buying 5 or 10 acres of land and becoming completely self-sufficient on a 5-acre plot, some even as small as 1 acre. We can do things similar to this and actually take care of our own needs if we come together and build those communities. The places that we go to will benefit, as Brother Hughie already said, from our being there, but we must make sure that we prepare for ourselves, because truth be told, we're not in as great a condition in England or in the States as sometimes we're made to believe, because as soon as something goes down here, you'll realize this infrastructure, 1, isn't built for you, and 2, can't cope with the extra weight. Some of the things that we want to invest in, and we are investing in, it's vehicles. It's like that kind of capital purchases that will allow us to do large-scale agriculture, large-scale construction. We can actually build our own houses, take some of our tradesmen to work with their tradesmen and build our own homes. We can actually get, we have at present, which we'll go into in a moment, rights to a large tract of mining land. And we can mine natural resources from the ground, because real economy starts with land. And if we can take our things, our food, our clothing and our shelter from the ground and build from the ground up, we'll have a much longer term and a much safer and stable place to be than if we're constantly living hand to mouth like we do here in England. So again, it's the types of equipment that we can buy together that if we had to buy as individuals would be quite difficult. But with a group of 10, 20 or 30 of us, these things become very cheap. Actually, Hughie did this. I'm not going to go into it too much, but in the same way as it is in Zambia, is the same way it is across the continent, because these are things that people need: food, clothing, and shelter. So if we're supplying meat, poultry, fish, grains or whatever, this is available all across the country, and you'll be amazed how many hundreds of tons travel between those different African nations, and Africa as a whole is working towards a united Africa. So it's good to be on the continent and get started. Why Zambia? This actually looks a bit like Asari's one, but it's very similar, and Zambia is looking has quite good development, yes, but many of the people who I met in Zambia spoke with like reverence about the way and the infrastructure within Rwanda. So it really is a shining light, and I do hope to get there. But again, it has a great infrastructure, wonderful road systems and networks, a very compatible culture. I think I heard someone saying the safety that you feel, and many of the sisters who traveled with us remarked about the same. So, but it's kind of over that same side of Africa. It's a Central Africa location. It's had great political stability since its independence in the early 60s. Very fertile land. It's just across the river from Zimbabwe, so they share some of the most fertile land in the whole of Africa. It has ample natural resources for mining gold, emeralds, manganese, and there's great business opportunities and partnerships, all of which we're currently working with and building towards with some of the stuff we're doing now. That's a picture of the city. I showed you that earlier one. This here is a spot that we really liked. It's called Samphia Beach, and it just felt like the Caribbean. And when we were out there, it was a good spot to rest. It's very, the weather was great and whatnot, but there's also opportunities because our mining land is not too far from here. And this is a tourist spot that I believe they're working on, and we had some opportunities to get land around this space, but it's something we're considering. We're not into it right now, but we do, we like to visit, and we're considering it in the future. Okay, so where have we got to so far? So we have a site in Rafunza. This is our agricultural site, and it's 617 acres of agricultural land. We're going to have some businesses and residential buildings, because if people are working up there, they have to be able to live up there. And we're considering raising livestock, fish farming, and cash crops at this location. It's literally, I guess it's about an hour and a half outside of the city, but because of the poor roads, it takes probably twice that to get there. But new roads are being built to that spot as we speak. So we were able to purchase at a very sensible price, and roads and stuff are being built that way. So that's already with us, and it was my intention to go back as soon as possible and start building on the agricultural side of things. Well, here's actually we've got a little video of me on it. This is me at presentation.
And I'm just looking around. This is what it looks like to be in tons and tons and tons of acres and acres and acres of land. We've just driven around for like 5 hours trying to go through this plot. I know, that's the best way to show you. This is land we can be growing on.
So hopefully that gives you just an idea. I mean, like I said, I couldn't get it in the phone camera, but I just did the best I could. So that was down in just to the east of the main center. But if you look where this new arrow is, up in the north, that lake is the bit I just showed you with the lovely pictures. And we have 1,000 hectares or 2,400 acres in Mansa, and that's where our mining land is. So we had a really good meeting and discussion with the local chiefs there. We actually took, the whole group went up there when we were there in November, and it's just been really great. They've given us a lot of support at the in terms of being able to register that land with the government and stuff. And then once that's done, we took some of the land, the topical samples, to the Ministry of Mines for testing, which came back really good. That's the picture of our group sitting with the chief, who's on that little red chair there. But that's kind of how council and how court and all stuff was held. But that's us as a group, just listening as he tells us about the area and working together in a partnership. This is actually a letter he wrote to us, or wrote on our behalf, to tell the government to register the land in our name. And this is our company, Next Level Developments, being registered in Zambia. Again, just a picture of the group. I think that was another day, but that's just a picture of us on that particular piece of mining land. I'm hoping you can see this and you've got good enough screens, but on either side, on one side is quartz crystal. We found that on the ground on that piece of land, and on the other side is manganese. They tested both of those manganese stones, and that's the results. We were told if it was 31% or more, we'd have a viable mine underneath, and it actually came up at 61, and one piece was 66, so we were very excited about those results. Makini is different. We've got a 20-acre residential site, which is quite close to the city centre, and it's something that we're going to be working with a local family. We're sharing ownership at present, but the plan is we develop the site, 20 acres, they take 5 acres, and we keep 15 for ourselves. So that's going to be our initial residential spot. We're not selling houses. All of us as a group are building our houses on that spot. We have our architect, Brother Raymond, who's actually on this call somewhere, but we will be drawing out a plan, laying out what we're going to do on that piece of land, and we'll be building it cost. So everybody who's a part of the group actually will be able to get their home at cost price or less, depending on how our businesses fare. So here's a prototype of some of the ideas we had. And this one has I think it's about 60 houses on it. And in the middle is a school and a business center. And there's about 4 acres of farming land to the back. So this is just the concept and the ideas that we have in our minds of what we can build. And it may modify, we may change it to be in line with whatever we can afford or whatever we get as time goes on. But we're just working together to build. And that's the ethos of the group. We come together, we pool our resources, and we just build whatever we need to get by. It's a couple of internal pictures, and this is just one of the basic homes. It's a 3-bedroom layout. It's 122 square meters. This is one from Raymond. Your normal 3 up 2 down house is probably about 90 square meters, just to give you an idea. And this is one of the businesses we've started, Next Level Recovery and Repairs. We sent that truck down last year in October, and it's actually out there as a recovery truck and a mechanic business. We sent it with tools, and then we're working with that now. So these are some of the ways we're going to be developing our finance to help us build our intentional community. And actually, that's our minibus as well. So born from our own need for transport during the first trip, we sent a 17-seater minibus, which we've now got, all set up and put together with the Next Level Development stuff. And it has been going out. That was Christmas Day. We took a group out to a lake. They had dinner at the lake, and we facilitated that. So that's a picture of that. And this is some of the flyers that we've presently got going around in Zambia promoting our businesses. Next Level Construction is kind of our main seat of income at the moment. So we're building, what are we building? We're building, I've gone blank. We're building boundary walls, there you go. We're building boundary walls and roadside drainage at the moment. It has been some slowdown because of the coronavirus, because the main contractors are Chinese, so there's been some slowdown with that, but nonetheless, we are actually one of the main subcontractors on that road building scheme, so that's working out quite well for us. Again, here's some of the stuff that we designed it and did it here and then just sent it down, but the quality of our promotions is quite high in comparison to the people we're around, and it's been received really well. That's us, the team, out for a night out while we were out there. It's a very young country and it's very lively, so it's just a lot of fun. I mean, there's great work and we worked hard, but there was also lots of time to relax and have fun. So what we're trying to do, I'm really near the end, what we're trying to do here is build favourable partnerships, terms that will help us get started and build together. So very much like, oh, I forgot who was talking earlier about Uganda. We're doing very much the same thing, working with local businesses, finding out what our best shared interests are, and then partnering with them to help them increase their businesses while actually getting a foothold in business ourselves. What we're looking for is long-term partnerships, and we're looking for investment, not aid. Reason being, we're in as much need as help as they are. So we don't have a place to call our own. If we're in England, we don't have a firm resting place and we need to find one. So this be the case, it's important for us to go invest and get something of our own. But obviously, it's very important for us to make sure that we're not invading the land without actually giving something back. So those mutual partnerships are a major thing for us. What do we need? We need land, we need skilled personnel, access to local markets and government initiatives, support to repatriate and resettle, trustworthy friends and social connections, which is the same regardless of whatever country you go to. What we can offer: cash, access to foreign markets, equipment, best practice techniques, skilled consultation, greater business return by controlling as much of the production and supply chain as possible. A lot of the time we think about the end result of money coming in, but the best way to secure your money is to actually control as much of the production and supply chain as possible. We can bring pencils in a bag for charity. We can equally buy a pencil maker and bring it into the country. Then we never need to bring another set of pencils because we make pencils now.
Justin, your volume's disappearing.
Yeah, your volume's just gone down, Justin.
It has?
Yes.
How is that? Check one. Mic, check. Mic.
Better.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so yeah, it's really what we're looking for is ways to get past having a fish for the day and making sure we have as much fishing rods as possible. Becoming a member. Okay, so let's move this because that's in my way. What we do in terms of becoming a member of Next Level Development, first off, if you're interested, we like to have a team meeting. It may be difficult at this point with what's happening, but we'll find a way. You can talk with members of the team, ask any further questions, and discuss your reasons for becoming a founding member. It's an intentional community, so we need to make sure that we're on the same page and in the same spirit as people who are joining. It's not really an aspersion on anyone. It's just, this is a very delicate thing, and the most important thing is our unity and our togetherness. It's really not about the finance. It's how we come together and build. It's how we overcome problems. It's how we face difficulties together and always stay united. So as much as it's a wonderful project and there's lots of different ideas and ways we can come with it, the main key is the unity of us as a people, because if we're unified, problems will come, losses will happen, but we'll be able to overcome them if we stay together. We won't be able to do this if our focus doesn't surround itself around what's best for the team and what's best for the group. Let's move that, next one. Right, our legal structure. So first off, you'd sign a shareholders agreement, because basically everyone who joins in, we're all shareholders in this company. We're registered as a UK limited company, and we also have companies, we actually have a main company with subsidiary companies in Zambia. Shareholders template, shares cannot be sold unless back to the group or the group approves the sale. This being the case.
Oh, come on, they don't just come on overnight. Every day.
Sure that we keep our intentional community for the purpose it's intended. All shareholders have equal voting rights, and rules can be changed, but only by a majority agreement. So there is no big I's and little U's. It's really a team effort. And once anyone joins, we're all equal in that group. What we're looking for is £5,000 for 10,000 shares. That's from everybody who joins on. For that, they'll own a portion of the company, which is the land that we've already purchased, the businesses we've already set up, the equipment and vehicles. It'd be allocated a space within the residential plots of land. You'd need to self-certify as a sophisticated investor, and our initial contribution will allow us to develop the business and infrastructure to repatriate. Shareholders will pay the price for their property. Shareholders will pay the cost price for their property contributions, which we will aim to subsidize with company dividends. That may sound a bit of a mouthful, but basically we have these businesses. If these businesses return enough, that's what we'll be using to subsidize the building. So we don't know exactly what the cost will be, but we're working to make these businesses successful, and nobody will pay more than cost price. We're not building these homes for profit. Joining the team, there is a next level development code of conduct, which goes into the ethical treatment of each other, the company and everybody that we work with. We have monthly meetings, regular updates, and we have to make sure everybody helps with the work of the group and is part of a team. And everybody must take responsibility for their ideas and making them happen in a group. So there's no sitting back talking about stuff we're not working at. Any ideas you got, great, bring them in, let's go to work and let's make them happen. And so in the future, I mean, that's pretty much it. We will get a chance to talk, and you can always contact us or check the website details are to follow. But from our vantage point at Next Level Development, Zambia is only a launching pad. We expect to be able to travel and move this to all of the places you've heard about today and further and beyond, because Africa is all ours. What we're really after is a free and independent Africa. And as Marcus Garvey said, Africa for the Africans at home and abroad. So that's my main presentation. I'll take 2 minutes just to tell you, just like the others, we also have a trip going to Zambia. The dates, it's been postponed. With the present, where we are now, we can't exactly say it'll be this or that. So keep that in mind. But we do like to bring people out just to show them what we're doing. The difference, I guess, you'll actually be coming to the parcels of land that we've already purchased and seeing the businesses and the things that we're building in action. Okay, now research for the itinerary. That's I'll leave that up as I finish. That's basically my WhatsApp details, the email and website. Get in touch, leave your details on the website. You'll get the updates coming through via our newsletters. And that's pretty much it. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that was informative. Bevis?
Thank you very much, Justin. I really appreciated that. Right, thank you for that. Right. Yes. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for joining this presentation. As you can appreciate, we have had a number of wonderful presenters showing us what they have been doing, their pursuits and their passion in terms of them going to the motherland and making a pathway for us all to go to the motherland. So we will now want to enable you all to have an opportunity to ask some questions, but what you will need to do is to raise your hand by looking at the icon next to the participation in the where you can see the participants. You should be able to see that you have an option to raise your hand. So when you raise your hand, then I'll be able to unmute your microphones, and then we'll be able to channel your question to each one of the presenters, or you can put a question into the chat section. If you do have a question, does anybody have a question for any of the presenters? Would you like to? Okay, Melanie Gooden. Okay, go ahead. Melanie?
Hi. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can hear you.
Good afternoon all. Very happy that Justin mentioned getting a pencil machine. Every time I hear of talks of folks going over, it's always bring pencils and notebooks. So it's good that we're talking about actually manufacturing those things instead of bringing them in from the West. The trip to, the talk about Rwanda, I was actually wanted to know what the employment levels were like in Rwanda. You talked of the educational level. Are there jobs for all these people that are being educated?
Asari, are you there, sir?
Unemployment is very low. So it's low level unemployment. Unemployment levels are quite low. So yeah, quite good high employment levels. And they're planning absolutely hundreds of thousands of jobs over the next few years as well.
Brilliant. You also mentioned mining. What are they mining in Rwanda?
You're really asking now.
I'm not sure actually. It's on their Rwandan development booklet that we get. So we can check for you and come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else with questions, please raise your hand. Or if you can't raise your hand by using the icon, I'll allow you to unmute yourself. One person at a time. Any questions from anybody else? Okay, Chantel. What was it, Charles? Okay, Charles, would you like to speak?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Charles.
Fantastic. Now, this is a general question, really. We haven't mentioned the elephant in the room. I've listened to, I think, all of the presentations. Very well done to all of you. I think this is a great forum. But one thing, as I say, the elephant in the room, the biggest economy in Africa, the largest population in Africa, that's Nigeria. Now, I wonder why that is. I have several reasons as to probably why we've steered wide of Nigeria for now, and that's because of the fact that it probably doesn't offer the same level of opportunity, can I say virgin opportunity, that a lot of the other countries have. Nigeria has a number of different problems, but for those who strike it rich in Nigeria, the rewards are unimaginably large. It has virtually everything. It has virtually everything to offer, but the problems it has are not for the faint-hearted. I'm of Nigerian background, and I do know that you know, it is a fantastic opportunity for those who can get a foothold into it. Everybody's trying to do it simply because of the rewards, which are immense. But as I say, someone born and brought up in the UK like myself, but I've been to Nigeria countless times, as well as Gambia and other parts of Africa. It is a very different kettle of fish. But I think we should keep an eye on it for those of us brave enough to try and tackle it one day. And just bear that in mind. And as I say, I'm very much behind all the ideas that we put out at the moment.
Sorry, Charles, may I interrupt? We didn't have Nigeria on here because we couldn't find a presenter at the time. In fact, Jide is of Nigerian heritage, but next time we have now subsequently found a person that will want to come on board next time. But we want questions to the presenters. So do you have a specific question to any of the presenters?
Can I just interject here?
Yes.
Bevan? Sister Shanice speaking. Now, although my focus for today's presentation was Zimbabwe, we do actually have a project in Nigeria. There's about 14 of us that have just bought about 50 plots of land between us. And the plan is to set up as a cooperative, and then from there to do some agriculture on the land, and then to use the income from the agriculture towards the cost of a housing development scheme. So there is a project running at the moment in Nigeria. There are other projects that we're engaged in. It's just that the focus for this presentation of mine was Zimbabwe. If you want more information about the Nigeria one, then if Bevan sends you my contact details, I'll be happy to make you aware of what we're doing there. Okay?
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, and just for the record, all of the presenters' information can be found at the website, which is ahnluton.org/African Transitions. And that's also on the flyer and all of the information I've sent out. Charles, are you satisfied now? Satiated?
Well, yes. I don't know if you can hear me still. Can you?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Yeah. No, that was Sister Shanice, was it? That was fantastic.
Yes, but because we're so short of time, we really do need to move on to someone else. If that's okay.
No, that's fine. No, fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Charles.
I can't wait for the next one.
Thank you. Thank you. William Welch.
Yes, hi there.
Do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Firstly, thanks to all the presenters for taking time to share the various countries and the tours and opportunities that exist. My question is very brief. I know that the presentation was short. You only had about 20 minutes each, and most of you promoted the benefits of coming on tours with you. What I wanted to find out as well is that how much involvement do you have in terms of connecting persons with particular business entities in these regions? So say, for example, I was interested in doing business in Zambia, but I was looking at the transportation field. You know, whoever would be able to assist me. I think that's Justin Mohammed's field.
Justin, are you there?
Yeah, if there's something that you'll be able to help. And likewise for any other of the presenters.
Yeah, I think from my vantage point, it's something that we can do, yes, because we're meeting people and getting things together. But as I said, the main thing is really just how we build together. So if you come and get involved in transport, that's one thing. But imagine if you came and got involved in transport with the other 20 of us who are already in next level development. So it would be, even if you spearhead the project, it would still be something that we'd pool our resources and do it together. It's if we set you off on the right track and you go off into building for yourself and you do really great, that's wonderful. If we set you off on the right track and it doesn't work out and now you've lost, I don't know, 15, 20,000 pounds of your own money and there isn't anyone else to fall back on, it's not so great. And now what do? Do you go back to England to live and die? What we really want to do is pool our resources. As I said, I think the gentleman who was speaking before was talking about the amount of cash that's available if we do such and such and so and so. And I just think this is the kind of topic that if cash is the guiding light, we're halfway down the wrong road already. We have to work out how we're going to do these things as a community. So the answer is yes, and I'm pretty sure every presenter who has spent time in Africa and built links in Africa could help in exactly the same way. But I think the best thing we can do for speed and longevity is to work as a community, to work as a group.
Okay, well, thanks for your answer. I'll contact you all individually after.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, William. Appreciate that. Okay, Maria? Maria, are you there?
Mute myself.
Oh, yes, I can hear you now.
Good afternoon. Thank you all very much for your presentations. I have a couple of questions. The first question I have is with regard to the last presentation. You registered the business over here as a limited company. Can you tell me why you registered it in England? Because if we are on the focus of making that move, when you register a business in the United Kingdom, the implications of now then, you've got obviously accounts to show to HMRC. How does it work?
We the same way it works for every other company. We submit those accounts to HMRC. Our accountant just gave us our 6 months accounts for the last 6 months. And when the 12 months is up, we will be sending those. The reason being, we have maybe, I think, 14 or 15 people who've invested money together in England. So we want to make sure that we're protected by English law while we're here. We've also opened Next Level Developments. I think I did show in my presentation our company documents in Zambia. When we move to Zambia, we won't have any need for the English company. So it's really, we haven't left yet. And many of us are here. Some of our members haven't actually been to Zambia at all yet. And I need to make sure that their finances are safeguarded as best I can while we're still here.
Well, I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, has anybody thought about getting people to invest in a way like how insurances do, by giving people underwriting lines, and you can say, well, one family is taking 1%, but within that family they will be projecting, I don't know, 10,000, 20,000, and just having it sort of like secure like that?
No, I wouldn't. It hasn't been planned that way. There are lots of different financial options have been put on the table, but with something like that, if that was an idea that you had and you joined on, then it's definitely something that we could work on. But at present, no, that isn't something that we have.
Okay. Oh, all right, that's great, because it's something I'm very, very interested in, all of them. I don't know if I've got all the holiday to take all of it, but I'm definitely going to be on board.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, we do have a poll, just a number of different short questions. We've only got about 7 of them. So I'd appreciate it if you could, I don't know if you can see the poll on your screen or have access to it somewhere. If you have a chance to fill that out, sooner rather than later, just a few questions about today's presentation and how we can move forward going forward, because this is the first time that we've done such a thing. We were originally going to have a seminar, a physical meeting at a venue in Luton, but because of COVID-19, we are now doing it as a webinar. But each one of the presenters were very much excited to be working on one platform together, and also with the opportunity of thinking of networking and providing solutions in the diaspora for our African diaspora brothers and sisters, so you can have a connection and a network in the African continent. So we're always looking forward to other countries in the African continent, other presenters, and other ways of facilitating and uplifting the community. We, as an organisation, Luton Black Men Community Group, we're a group of men that pool our resources in any way that we can to provide events, activities, and information to our community, to uplift our community and to network. So we are here for you, and we hope you enjoyed this presentation. But please do try and fill in the poll, or if you need any further information, you can actually find information at our on the website that I've posted a few times on here. So the website again is AHN Luton, right? AHN Luton, okay. Sorry, ahnluton.org, and it is okay. Yeah, I'm just going to send a message out to everybody. ahnluton.org / Africa Transition. So you can find information about all the presenters there, and of our forthcoming events. Are there any other questions from anybody?
Sorry, Feather, may I make a suggestion?
Yes, please. Yes, please, Khadijah.
It's just to say that we had a discussion about this before. So I think that maybe if each of us could put the links of everybody's website on our own website, so that we can collaborate and network like that. So if anybody wanted, so for example, somebody came on my website, but then they felt like they wanted to go to Zambia, for example, then there's a link to Zambia that they could go and think. So I think that we should try to network like that with each other rather than be separatists. I think that we should try and link like that. So if we each send our links to each other, then we can have them on our website. So if people wanted to go to somewhere else, then they know where to go. I think it's a good collaboration, it's good networking.
Excellent. Yes, that is perfect. In any way in which we can actually forge those links between each one of us, and make a network shouldn't be a single point of failure. So ideally, as you've said, Khadijah, each one of those websites for each one of your organizations should have links to each one of the other organizations, rather than having a central hub which can be attacked and brought down quite easily. So I appreciate that, Khadijah. Are there any other questions from anybody else? Well, I just once again would like to thank the presenters. I'd like to thank you all as guests to this presentation, and we hope to do another one in the future. And hopefully we can see you in the motherland or at one of our physical events. Thank you all for your time, and thank you all for your patience. This is our first time. We'll be better for next time.
Thanks, Bevis.
Thank you. Thanks, Bevis. Thank you.
Brilliant event.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
We get it.
Bye.
Myself.